Hi everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. First of all, apologies for starting this webinar late. It was some technology issues we were facing. But yeah, again, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining for this webinar where we will be discussing about the future of insurance. There was a time in insurance, right, where we believe like not considered as technologically advanced as few other industries, right? And let's face it, sometimes working in insurance might feel like we are sitting in a rush hour traffic. But let's not fear. The things are changing, right? As self-driving cars are revolutionizing the transportation industry, the technology is transforming the insurance industry as well. So let's get on to this roller coaster ride where we will be discussing about what's there for insurance, how technology is shaping the future of the insurance. And I have experts working, like joining me in this webinar, who will be sharing their experience, uh, their knowledge about the emerging technologies with us. My name is Onil Chavan, and I head the North America practice for insurance. Though my role today is as a moderator in this webinar, I have had opportunities to working with multiple insurers in their emerging technology journeys and transform. Just for memo, my fellow panelist here, right? As it because I am spending so much time with emerging technologies, I will try to validate some of my learnings with them during the course of this webinar. With the constant flux of the people, processes, and technologies, right, it is very imperative for any industry to figure out the stable ground, and also figure out the occasion where they want to experiment it. But we at Fractal, what we do as a consultant, right, we try to basically broaden the horizon and try to get the deep knowledge about what's there in future. And with that objective in mind, we launched the series called Futures. What we try to do within this initiative is learn, study, and help each other, right? Like where this industry is moving. And we did similar exercise for insurance industry as well. And there are four themes that become very important from the insurance perspective. The first one is the emerging technology. Emerging technology consists of everything, right? Like Gen AI, the metaverse, the OCR, the geospatial analysis. But what we believe that this is not only one theme, but it will enable all other themes as well from the future of insurance perspective. Also, we think that this particular theme will help us to achieve our wild vision of humanizing each and every decision in the organization. And this is the topic of our webinar today as well. The second theme is human integrated future. The one of the key responsibility of any insurer is to protect the policy holders and at the same time ensure that there is a shareholder returns as well. So they need to think both from the customer's perspective and the employee's perspective. The ever increasing customer expectations, and with the new way of hybrid working, the new way of working, the talent pool is also becoming much more experienced, much more required, right? So insurers need to think from both these angles, and thinking about the behavioral aspect of it becomes very important. The third theme is the C-suite's risk, right? Because of the macro and microeconomics factors, there are multiple other risks are becoming significant. The risk like cyber risk, the climate risk, or geopolitical risk, or the inflations, right? Like both general inflation and the social inflation. I think the majority of C-suite people will be focusing on these risks, and they need to have a right strategy in place to combat against these particular risks. And finally, the ESG as a priority. It's no more an option for any industry, right? People are actually want insurance industry as well to create the sustainable and inclusive environment, so that we think about the model explainability, responsible AI, and the overall climate situations as well. So ESG is the another theme. Now, as you can see, right, we have spent a lot of time, deep knowledge about gaining this experience where we worked with our experts, practitioners, domain knowledge people, advisors to bring this knowledge to you. And that's where we have invited our panelists today as well on this particular webinar. And I can assure you, and I'm very much thrilled that I we couldn't have had a better panel here to discuss about the emerging technology and the impact of emerging technology on the insurance industry. Just before I start introducing my panel here, I will take the liberty of reading through my notes because I don't want to miss anything from their bio. And they have such an illustrious career. I might take an entire hour if I start speaking about them or their whole career. So, what I will do, I will just focus on their current role and then start introducing my panel members to you. So my first panel member here is Mimi Chizewa. Mimi is Vice President of Technology and Strategy Innovation. Welcome, Mimi, to the panel. In this role, Mimi leads the high-performing teams to drive the rapid adoption of emerging technologies at Nationwide, and which includes the integration of Gen AI as well. At the same time, Mimi spearheads the development of robust foundation to activating emerging technologies, and we are proudly working with her group as well at the in these efforts. And the other part of Mimi's role is basically to bolster the associate expertise across the enterprise and establishing the governance and the ethical responsibility as we speak. Like this theme is becoming very important from the future of insurance perspective. So that's Mimi for you, everyone. Welcome Mimi to the webinar, and hopefully we'll have a great discussion throughout next 40 minutes or so. Before I introduce my next panel, happy International Women Day, Mimi, and it's great to see that woman leading the innovation group with such an esteemed organization because innovation will actually define the future. I will like to take the opportunity to also acknowledge the fact that we have Garima here who actually spearheaded the whole webinar. So Garima, happy International Women Day, and again to everyone on the panel as well and on the webinar as well. Happy International Women's Day, and thanks for making this world better for everyone. Thanks for that. My second panelist here is Raj. Raj currently is the head of data science and AI with DLG, the Direct Line Group. As the head of data science AI, Raj is forefront in AI innovation and expertly aligning AI strategies with key business objectives. Raj is a staunch advocate of responsible AI, and Raj champions ethical and transparent AI deployment. And the focus on developing strategies that not only embrace AI but also drive significant business is one of the key objective of Raj. So Raj, welcome to the panel. And again, with your different model, right, in which DLG operates, we hope that we will learn multiple things from you throughout this discussion. So welcome, Raj.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Sankar Narayanan, who is the Chief Practice Officer at Fractal. SN, as we fondly known him, he manages multiple practices. Insurance is one of it. SN brings 20 plus years of consulting experience across industries, and he has a keen interest in driving measurable impact through AED, AI engineering and design. His belief is that the rapid advances in AI and technology will lead the unprecedented levels of prosperity, equality, and well being. Again, SN, thanks for joining. Welcome to the panel. The idea here is to get practitioner point of view as well with the leaders from the insurance industry. So, again, thanks for joining and welcome to the panel.
Good to be here.
Let me start with Mimi. My first question to Mimi, you is that given your role at Nationwide, sorry, given your role at Nationwide, right, you must be working with multiple emerging technologies and trying to see how these emerging technologies are going to help Nationwide. So my question to you is like, which emerging technologies are you excited about? How do you see the adoption of these technologies? And on top of it, how do you decide on which technologies to invest in? Because there are multiple technologies that are present, right? So what is that method to madness, if I may, behind this whole process?
Awesome. Thanks, Anil, and happy Friday to everybody. So we have, as part of our technology strategy, we have a focus on the rapid adoption of emerging technologies. So we have really focused on emerging technology, looking at it as really helping to position Nationwide on being kind of on the forefront of innovation and helping to deliver on our mission of protecting people, businesses, and futures with extraordinary care. So one of the things that I am proud of with one of the areas of my responsibility is our emerging tech team that oversees what we call kind of our four-step process around trend spotting, education, experimentation, and adoption readiness of emerging technology. So we're partnered very closely with our architecture community to watch that entire life cycle of technologies, and then we're really on the kind of forefront of that emerging and early maturity part of the life cycle. One of the big things we do as part of that process is trend spotting. And actually, at the beginning of every year, we're going through it right now. We develop an emerging technology radar, which is informed by a lot of external trends as well as internal priorities. So, what we see is macro trends for the company, looking at our internal business strategies. So, we develop out of that then an emerging technology radar, which is then used to establish the set of priorities for the year, for which we'll continue that education, experimentation, and just further research.
Got it. Thanks, PP. Just a follow up to that, right, Amy? Yeah. Like, are there any emerging technologies which Nationwide is focusing on? I know Gen AI must be one of it, but anything else apart from Gen AI?
Sure. Yeah, so beyond generative AI, because there's a lot to say around generative AI, I would say a few things that we are really focused on coming into this year. One area is multimodal AI. So, we're seeing a lot of advancements with multimodal AI, looking across just the comprehensive nature of communications across audio and video and text. And when you look at the advancements that we're seeing in this space, we believe that that's going to be one big area of opportunity for us. Another area to, generative AI, I think we can get a little bit more into. We have just kind of as a point as we revisit our technologies, we're actually as we look at technologies like blockchain and VR, those are two that we have recently decided we're going to shelve for the year. So virtual reality being one where we've done a number of different experiments, including a very immersive virtual onboarding experience for new associates. So until the form factor gets to a better place where folks aren't feeling that discomfort, we're going to kind of shelve that and kind of wait for further advancements. Plus, the cost of these devices are pretty expensive. Looking at the most recent one with the Apple Vision Pro at I think about $3,500. And then blockchain is another one. We spent a lot of time over the past year just developing use cases, working with an industry consortium around two specific use cases, one for first notice of loss, and another one for what we call mortality monitor, where we wanted to have kind of just early insight into death certificates, so that we could begin to prepare if we have a customer that was impacted maybe with life insurance or other products, being able to kind of prepare and determine how we might want to proactively reach out to those customers. So those were two use cases. I still think they're good use cases. We just couldn't get the participants that we would need to really get full value out of those use cases. So those are two areas where we're actually putting on the shelf, and that does give more time for us than in areas like generative AI coming into this year.
Got it. Got it. Thanks for Mimi. Let me bring Raj here to this conversation, right? Like Raj, my question to you is similar. Given that the nationwide is a different business model, right, than DLG. DLG is a direct model. How do you see from the emerging technologies? Like, do you have a different viewpoint when you select where to invest time or which emerging technology will help the business from the DLG perspective?
Um, One thing is surprisingly, we were also delving on obviously generative AI aside. Surprisingly similar in terms of us looking at VR. Last year, we did look at VR, especially for like onboarding and some other sort of collaboration type activities, right? What we have sheltered for the moment. And also, we were also looking at with, I think in 2021, 2022, the rise of crypto and kind of, the being one of the main cryptocurrencies there was a sort of emerging trend over there. We kind of looked at, should we look at some digital asset insurance and that kind of thing, obviously, but we did some spikes, as we call it, from a business perspective, but it's kind of on hold. So that again sort of gives us our time. What we really look at when we look at emerging tech is kind of five things. If I be like breaking it down, right? Obviously, looking at market needs and consumer behavior. So we are direct to consumer, right? We have to look at where are the emerging tech which address current gaps or evolve a consumer behavior, which allows us to play better in that sort of space, right? We see obviously generative AI as a great thing because it allows us to go more personalized services for our customers with some of the use cases. The other thing which we have to be really, really important about is a regulatory environment, right? Because all tech has we have to understand how the tech needs to play with the regulatory landscape of the country, right? Um, the third thing we look at is obviously the technology maturity and will it scale? Because a lot of technology which gets as emerging,
Yeah.
but then we have to really understand, go beyond the hype and understand what are the 3 or 4 factors which will help the tech to scale or will not help the tech to scale, right? Because we don't, as a business, we don't want to go into a hype and then invest on something which will not scale, right? And it has happened to many companies before. I think the final bit is obviously, strategic goals. Every business has strategic goals, right? If something is not aligned, we'll not even, look at it. So I think that's given. And the fifth bit is obviously we're looking at horizon scanning, what our competitors are doing, not only just insurance, but financial services are now getting sort of competition outside of the financial services as well. If there is an emerging tech which can then make that competition a real competition, then we have to be aware of it, right? So those are the 5 things we're always looking at as an organization when we are like looking at emerging tech.
Got it. Thanks, Raj. And let me bring SN here, right? SN, what I want you to help us with, like from the practitioner point of view, right? As in, we work with multiple insurers with different types of business models. What is our point of view when we suggest something to them from the emerging technology, like where they should be putting time and effort? What is our point of view on that?
Yeah. So fundamentally, insurance is risk averse by nature, right? The industry exists to help everybody else manage risks better, and therefore most decisions that happen in insurance companies are thought through and more data driven than many other industries. So that is a boon and a bane, right? Boon because decisions that are thought through and taken more often than not end up being successful because there is considerable evidence and data behind it. The bane of the fact is that it sometimes affects the speed of decisions, and that could potentially lead to the industry being considered one of the slower ones in terms of progressing on innovation. So that's always been there, for the last 150, 200 years of all things going on. But where we are seeing, and by the way, we are learning from our clients on how these decisions are getting taken all the time. But here are some principles that we see are extremely useful, right? Number one is, as Raj and Mimi both mentioned, constantly having a view on the horizon. What are the technologies that are coming up? Not necessarily from the point of immediate investments, but from the standpoint of thinking through how could that potentially have an impact on the value chain. So connecting any innovation with the value chain is a critical element, right? Many companies have tried to come and disrupt the value chain. Disrupting the value chain without having strength on different parts of the value chain is a recipe for disaster, as we have seen from all of the insurtech companies that scaled really quickly but also fell off the radar really quickly. So that's number one, a deep orientation to connecting the innovation with the value chain. The second element is in terms of how you distribute the bets, right? At any point in time, there's always two or three or four different things that are, new innovations that are coming together. So the real question is, do we want to concentrate our bets on one or two, or do we want to distribute? Now, obviously, both of them have their, place and time, but I can totally see that now is a time where the budget that's available needs to be put on one or two concentrated bets as opposed to a number of them, given especially given both Raj and Mimi mentioned the term generative AI, right? That's going to be potentially be the occupy the bulk of all of the investments. So that is the second trade-off, which is distributing versus concentrating. And then the third element is really not just for the industry, but the culture of the organization, right? There are many new innovations that are constantly there within the industry that may work within our organization, right? Today we have two large insurers who are fundamentally different culturally in how decision making happens and how things are done, and that's just an example of the variation that exists across companies. So in this case, Nationwide is mutual and DLG is a listed insurer. So both of these have fundamentally different ways to think about various decisions, and that is an important facet. How do decisions actually percolate down to the claims agent, to the sales manager, and so on? That is going to define, if that innovation is going to come alive or not. So those would be my three sort of parameters.
Got it, got it. Thanks, SN. Let me come to Raj, you now. All of us spoke about Gen AI and the whole Gen AI wave, right? Let me combine a couple of questions here for you. Like, is there any area you see where, from your business perspective, right, like Gen AI will have a higher impact from the value chain perspective? Is there any such area? And the second question is, like, Mimi, you spoke about blockchain and other things, right? And we always face that problem to make a truly enterprise level adoption. So, what things you are doing, Raj, from the DLG or your organization perspective, right? Like the time and efforts which we are spending on Gen AI, we actually make it like a true enterprise wide initiative.
Yeah, so I think let me answer your first question, that where we see the opportunities are with generative AI within our insurance value chain, right?
Mhm.
And so when we look at our holistic value chain, we see generative AI playing a really interesting bit in all our kind of customer interaction, right? Providing a customer experience which is better than today, which is more personalized for that particular customer, right? Um, So we see that as one. On the other side, it's also providing agents with an experience, or agents, our contact center staff with an experience, which is their work experience in the contact center is getting elevated than what it's today, right? They do a
Mhm.
incredible job in what they do, but how can we make their life much better using artificial intelligence, right? So I think and it could take a shape or form of many things, right? It could be, providing them a knowledge bot which allows them to sort of percolate all the knowledges, speed. Why we also see this being a really interesting part is in our claims value chain as well. Because like you mentioned, I think in the FNOL space, in terms of understanding different making claims decisions quicker, because it's all about getting a lot of information, going through very quick and making decisions. So can we make uh, that part of the value chain quicker, with human in the loop, obviously, but you know, making our claims adjusters and handlers more productive than they are, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But we also what we also see are more enterprise. So these are kind of dot use cases, if that makes sense, right? But if you look at
Yeah. Mhm.
I have a dash use case which goes across, right? Which is, can we enable this across our whole organization, starting from, say, risk, legal, um, maybe corporate functions as well, HR, right? Uh, to really make us more productive and efficient, right? It's literally a productivity. But how do we make that available in a way that is safe and responsible, right? Because that is really important. Because now you're suddenly
Mhm.
saying it's not only just an app which runs in a few contact center. It's actually going across your 10,000, 12,000, how many ever employees you have, that, right? And it goes across all the way up to our technology teams as well, because they want to use this for writing software better, quicker, using generative AI techniques and everything. But there's then that becomes a dash use case. Uh, and then what we see is another, which is a big bang, right? We haven't seen a lot of companies, really come up with it, because it's about, can we see a whole new product offering which opens up a new market for the business, right? Uh,
Mhm.
but we are constantly looking at it, but I wouldn't say that we're skeptical, but I think the whole any other organization in this space is kind of doing the same as well, right? But there are many, because as agentative AI become more and more um, you know, norm, I think those use cases will become more and more prevalent.
Got it.
So I think those kind of three things that we look at the moment. So that's
Got
your
it.
first
Got
question.
it.
I don't really remember your second question, but I think it was about.
The second question is making this whole Gen AI as enterprise wide
Yeah.
initiative, right? Given that we have had so many experiences with other emerging technologies, right? Like we start with a bang, we see that initial uptake, but then they die their own life, right? So, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think my thoughts are on this is, um, I feel there would be. I think this is kind of slightly different. I think, yes, there will be those dash
Hmm.
use cases. You'll have the co-pilot for the whole enterprise. You will have whatever, right? All of these kind of for the whole island. Those are productivity tool. They will come up in enterprise, right? But I don't think there would be a one enterprise model which will do all your use cases, right? What you could do is you can have an enterprise governance, a responsible AI sort of governance process, which makes sure that your risks are measured at an enterprise level, because the risks for the enterprise is going to be similar, right? But in terms of like having one AI platform which serves all of your business needs, right? Given
Hmm.
and you're going to funnel all your AI requests through that platform. I think it might not be physically possible, be it might be stopping innovation in a sense that it's like, because these things will move much quicker than we even understand today. So that's kind of my personal feeling, that I don't
Got
think
it.
there will be like one AI platform through which you can funnel all your use cases, but definitely your controls, your risk measurement, your governance will have to be centralized. Yes.
Got it. Got it. Thanks, Raj. So Mimi, again, keeping on the same topic, right, on generative AI. Generative AI has ability to cut across parts of value chain. Not only that, multiple teams as well, right? Like the data engineering, the advanced analytics, and the innovation group for sure. And one of the key aspect of enterprise adoption is to ensure that the roles and responsibilities are clear, right? Like who is doing to do what. So how is Nationwide trying to answer that question, or what is Nationwide's approach to ensure that we have the clarity in roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, I think the question around roles and responsibilities will definitely evolve as we learn more. I think this is a space that we would all agree we're going to be learning our way into it for quite some time. We look
Mhm.
at generative AI and the work we're doing with AI overall as an enterprise strategy, not a technology strategy. And we have, over the past year, established an AI steering committee that is made up of cross-functional teams, from sitting at an executive level, looking across legal and enterprise risk and HR and business units and technology and risk management. And so we have like this structure that we've activated to support and ensure that we're moving in the right responsible way, on the right priorities, at the right pace. We start with that. So our AI
Mhm.
steering committee, and then underneath there, we have a number of different work streams that we have identified and spun up to support, really kind of just looking at the general construct of business enablement and technology enablement. So the teams that are ensuring that we're identifying the right high value opportunities to go after, from a business perspective, from a value realization perspective, and then a number of different teams that support technology enablement. So, as you mentioned, data is a big data and testing, and this idea of accuracy and quality of the solutions that we're delivering are the two big areas where we've really kind of doubled down our focus. On the unstructured data side, that's where kind of the new opportunities come in terms of making sure that we're getting out ahead of preparing that unstructured data for the high priority use cases that we have coming in.
Mhm.
As you all know, and we've learned with you along the way, the pre-processing that takes place with unstructured data can be pretty time consuming and complex.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
there's a number of different things there. We do have a data platform for unstructured data, a data platform strategy working team that is really on point for helping to support that. And I'll just maybe go back a little bit too, just in terms of where we're looking at in terms of the key opportunities of generative AI within Nationwide. We really look at generative AI falling within three different themes. The first one being content generation. And so we've done a number of different things within the organization to enable this. We've implemented Copilot, so Microsoft Copilot as a tool for our associates to begin to experience through their own prompt engineering and summarization and Q&A, leveraging these tools. We have a number of different use cases in marketing, for campaign management, for customer relations, and just our interactions with customers. How can we enable generative AI to help give us kind of the categorization and accelerators or draft starts to responses to our customers, so that we can get those responses even quicker.
Mhm.
And the second theme that we have is around the bionic coworker. And we look at the bionic coworker from two different perspectives. One is customer service. So as Raj talked about too, customer service and enabling those individuals who are front and center with our customers. How do we accelerate the back end of their work and really kind of create those sidekicks or those co-pilots that better enable them to respond even faster in a more personalized way with our customers? We see that as being a very big opportunity for us, where they can really focus on that more empathetic side with the customer. And then back office in terms of that bionic coworker. So really looking at this as a productivity uplift for our associates. And then the third that we've been working a lot on over the past 6 months is around the role of generative AI in the software development lifecycle. So looking at code generation tools and how can those help enable the work of our developers and improve that experience of our developers. So those are the three areas that really are starting to emerge as themes for us.
Got it. There are a few interesting questions coming in from audience, but I'll just wait for answer them. Let me bring Essen to you to this discussion, right? I'm hearing my echo. Are you able to hear me properly? Okay. Yeah. So one of the area, right, which is becoming very hot is the responsible AI. Like it was hot before generative AI as well, but now it's becoming more and more sought after area after generative AI. So what are your thoughts, SN, like from the responsible AI? Yes, our industry is regulated, but it still needs that component of regulatory AI, right, or responsible AI. So what are your thoughts on how Fractal is helping multiple clients, right, from the RAI perspective?
Yeah, it's a very important question, and a question that has become even more important thanks to the complexity of the underlying models within any generative AI modeling landscape. So we, our responsible AI approach encompasses two or three key dimensions. First is, what are the principles, right? What are the components and principles that are driving or that should drive better and more responsible AI? That's number one. Second is, what behaviors should that lead to in terms of using the power of AI more responsibly? And the third element is, what are some of the enablers that need to be built uh, within the system to ensure that there are guardrails that prevent malicious use of AI, right? So if you think about principles, there are a few. The simple ones being, how can you prevent wrongful use or misuse of AI technology, and what guardrails can be set. A second element is fairness, right? AI may not do the bad thing, but is it doing the right thing or the wrong thing? So that is where the fairness question comes in. Then there is points around ethicality. It may be doing a good thing, but it is doing it right by uh, the widest group of people, right? Is it more inclusive? That is an important element. Then a fourth element would be transparency. At the end of the day, who owns the data is a question that we constantly are thinking about. Of course, the ownership of data is within very, very long disclaimers that are there as we all as consumers sign something. But you know what? At the end of the day, everything that we share, choose to share or not share, and the inferences that are made out of it, there has to be some element of what it means to me, the consumer, right? So that's where the
Mhm.
element of transparency is extremely critical. So all of these principles, we've codified them into expected behaviors, and we've actually developed frameworks and software components which allows the use of which allows for AI to be more responsible from three perspectives. Perspective one is, how can the models themselves be done right, right? So this is what we incorporate within the modeling lifecycle. So responsible AI does not sit outside of the model development process. It actually is built within the lifecycle. The second element is how do you use AI responsibly, which is
Mhm.
about driving better usage, and that means changing elements of process, changing trainings, etc., to help people interpret and use the models effectively. And the third element is in terms of the underlying process controls. Models and people will act within a process framework, right? So how can you drive better process? So these are the three elements that we look at, and we've now codified that into system. The work that we do with TLG and Nationwide, as well as all of our clients. Today, it goes through a RAI certification process. So every model, every project, every client goes through an RAI certification process, which means that the clients that we work with also can be comforted by the fact that there is an objective, verification and validation of all the work that we have done that they can leverage within their internal AI guidelines and process.
Got it. Got it. Raj, one of the thing which caught our eye, right, in your introduction, that you're a staunch advocate of responsible AI. And SN put in the practitioner viewpoint, right? But would like to understand from you as well, that from the DLG perspective, right? What are your thoughts on preparedness, like DLG preparedness from the responsible AI, and then the overall industry perspective as well? Because in multiple discussions we keep hearing this, that we are regulated industry, so the responsible part is already taken care of because of it. But is that really true? Would like to get your thoughts on that.
So there are layers, right? So we are a regulated industry. This is not the first time insurance is using artificial intelligence, if you consider machine learning as artificial intelligence as well. Right? They use machine learning doing a lot of decision making, and some of the decisions making are regulated. So we have to be. So when you think nowadays when we're talking about responsible AI, we're talking about ethics, we're talking about transparency, we're talking about being the data not being biased, right? All of that, as an organization, we know the value of it, and we have existing processes where a model has to go through. We have established model governance board, and so forth, where every model, like Ashton was talking about, that things are baked into the model development process, right? And then they have to prove themselves in the model governance board that they're actually doing the right things. But I think where this is going, the reason why responsible AI is beginning to become a big thing is because, come to think of it, those models which we were using this far were easy to interpret, transparent, and explain, right? And they were trained by enterprises with their own data, right? But that is beginning to change because you are now starting to use models which are much, much complex. I don't think that that we have worked out how to exactly do transparency or explainability of a large language model, right, which has billions of parameters and so on and so forth, right? You're going to now start using that in a much more using that kind of thing in every bits of the business. So obviously the impact of that is now becoming more than it was before, right? And I think the other bit which we talked about is these models are not complete. They're trained on a data set, which depends on which model you're using and what sort of mode you're using, open, closed model. You probably don't know, what sort of data has gone into it, right? So those are the factors which are making us look at what are the other guardrails that we need to put, what are the responsible guidelines we need to put to make sure that we are also safeguarded from that perspective, right? So what we have done in DLG, I think Mimi mentioned that as well. So we have a AI working group. We have also set 6 or 7 sort of responsible AI guidelines, which has gone to the whole of our organization. And so people kind of know what is the AI governance processes. It's a simple, we made the simplified AI governance process. We have AI working group. We have an AI working committee. We already have an established data and ethics committee, right? We have AI as kind of AI risks that we are trying to sort of measure the exposure to those risks of organization already established. So with that, we have just started our journey towards responsible AI, but this is not a new thing that we are doing. We are just bolstering our existing processes that we already have in light of the technology and advancements and the type of new models that we are seeing now.
Got it. Let me come to you, Mimi. I'll combine one of my question and the relevant question which one of our audience has asked. So when computers came few years back, right, it was termed like it will kill jobs. Then it was analytics, then it was automation. What do you think with this Gen AI, right? Will like there is a fear that it will replace human. Do you think that that is happening? And to for our audience, right, like from the technology or developer community perspective, what are those skill sets you think that this community now needs to focus on to be relevant in this new age world?
Yeah, thanks, Sunil. So I kind of look at what's happening as this next era of technology. So we've been through these cycles before. We went through major disruption with the internet, with web, with mobile. So I think that we will see disruption. What is uniquely different about this disruption, kind of this new technology era that we're kind of entering into, is the pace, and it's incredible. So anybody who's trying to keep up with the landscape of generative AI knows that there's significant advancements. You can even talk about significant advancements we're seeing over the past several weeks. If you look at the capabilities coming through, like with OpenAI Sora, which is text to video, these models are starting to understand the application of physics and how objects are represented in the physical world, where just months ago we were still dealing with hands with 6 fingers. And so if you just look at kind of the pace of advancements that we have seen and will continue to, it's just the difference here, I think, is that this is at a pace that we've never seen before. For us, in terms of how we look at this, it will automate work, right? So industry research, depending on what you're reading, you'll see 30%, 40%, up to 50% of a productivity uplift, trillions of dollars added to the GDP as a result of productivity uplift of knowledge workers. Our messaging and the way that we look at this is kind of, it's not that this automation or these AI assistants or generative AI capabilities will replace the knowledge worker, but the knowledge worker who has the ability to work effectively with these tools will replace that knowledge worker. And so really kind of just how do we help enable our organization to be supercharged with the capabilities that we see in front of us. All of our use cases for the foreseeable future will maintain that human in the loop. So that human that can apply that good empathy, that their good judgment and good critical thinking, enabled by their AI assistant, their sidekick, their co-pilot, but still that human will be that final decision maker for what is, whether a transaction is getting committed or whether we're communicating with a customer. We'll continue to maintain that human in the loop for the foreseeable future. As far as skills, what I say here is get out and experience these tools. There are so many tools available, ChatGPT, these are easy to start, using prompt engineering, understanding kind of templates for good prompts for how to get the most out of these tools. I think that's number one for people right now, is just learning and experiencing these tools, working with their teams to do the same thing. There is a ton, we have our future of work where we have all associates have to go through 20 hours of training a year, and half of that is on the technology side. We have great learning platforms like LinkedIn Learning and Pluralsight. You can go out to YouTube. There's more than enough information out there. It's just taking that step to get in, to learn, experience the tools, and to just, learn about what's happening with generative AI.
Got it. Got it. Raj, my question to you is same, but just to add there, right? Sorry. Uh, there are comments made, right, in forum that, like, for prompt engineering, do we really want to have my experienced data scientist working on prompt engineering, right? As in, so like from those skill sets perspective, definitely the work profile is changing. So how DLG is looking, and like those who wants to like work for DLG, right? Or what are your expectations from people you are partnering with? How those expectations are changing?
I think a lot. I think I don't like you mentioned. I feel we don't need a data scientist to do prompt engineering. I would rather have uh, business our experts, and we are actually opening up. Yeah, we have internal data academy, and in that we have put in prompt engineering courses because we want our, like Mim mentioned, that our knowledge worker have to be one with AI, right? Prompts are the way to interact with them. So why not learn the best practices of the prompt engineering and start playing with that tool, right? And it's super important, right? So I think I feel there will be more people who will be interacting, working, um, coaching AI in that space to make things. I think where data scientists would still be really relevant is as you go through that learning curve, you will have to do some advanced things, like you want to fine tune your models, right? You have to play with the weights of the models, right? Then you need your deep statistician, deep maths experts who can play with the weights of the models and stuff like that to come in and start sort of working on that, right? So you need those skills, very very specialist skills, right? And I think the other one, which is becoming really relevant, a new genre, is AI engineering, right? Because there is so much to do in this kind of things. Like you start doing some things with a model, then you have your lang chain of the world, and you package all that together. You need a full stack engineer now to sort of start building some of these tools and go to market very quickly. And that's a slightly different skills than software engineer. I tell you why, because you need to have those skills who can understand, empathize with. So in back office, I made me mention the back office tasks, which were previously not automated because it needed a little bit of subjective decision making. LLMs can do that, right? But software engineers were not close to that. So you need like software engineers who are empathetic to it, can work with LLM, can work with that subject matter experts who can do the prompt engineering, but package it all together. So that's a new set of skills that developing, I think, in the industry, and that's super important as well. And we're seeing, and some of our data engineers, software engineer, will actually go in and become AI engineer as we go through that journey of skilling and upskilling. So I think that's very interesting. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Raj. We are at time, so I just want to quickly go around the table to get your closing remarks, right, on impact of emerging technologies on insurance industry. So, Yasin, I would like to start with you. Few closing remarks.
Sure. Thanks, Anand. I think from this discussion, it's abundantly clear that while there are a few things that are happening both on the tech side and the insurance side. I mean, we haven't actually talked about the advancements that are happening on the insurance industry domain perspective itself. The evolution of embedded insurance, parametric insurance, lots more IoT and telematics driving, different insurance behavior, etc. So that is of course already happening the insurance domain perspective. But on the horizontal or technology standpoint, clearly generative AI is seems to be the one that is likely to stand the test of time. The biggest opportunity I think is because I think both Raj and Mimi mentioned generative AI doesn't seem to be suddenly the flavor of the day. There are many things that are happening around it which makes it a likely sustainable innovation, right? The fact that computing has become extremely powerful, and the ability to actually do all of these at speed and at pace and at scale is also evolving at the same pace. So, I mean, the share prices of some of the top tech companies are an indication of what's happening on the computing side. So that's one. Second is the rate of pace of learning on any of these technologies that seems to have increase significantly. So the speed at which you can pick up a new skill to be proficient at building models, that has increased significantly, which means that AI can be adopted a lot faster. So that's the second element that I'm seeing. And the third one, just as I leave my thoughts here, I think the lines between discriminative AI and generative AI are coming coming down. What it means is that uh, AI on the whole will become even more critical to all the problems that we are solving. But it is not a question of which use cases lend itself better to generative AI or which use cases lend itself better to discriminative AI. The real question is, can we bring the power of AI, which means discriminative AI and generative AI, to address the problem itself? And the last sort of sub bullet there is something that Raj mentioned: the operationalization, the LLM ops as it is starting to get known. That I think is going to provide a lot more jobs over the next 20, 30 years than we are thinking about. So that's where my sort of optimistic feeling is built.
Great, great. Thanks, Essence, for sharing your thoughts. Mimi, to you for any closing remarks.
Sure. Yeah, I love SN's point too, just around what's super important in this space of emerging technology is to watch not just a single technology, but the convergence of technologies that will really lead to the ultimate, transformation of the insurance industry that has been just primed for innovation and transformation. So I love that point. The second one I would say is, always keep an eye on what are the needs of the customer. So making sure not to get lost in the shiny objects of the new technology, but really making sure the focus is on the value to the customer ultimately, and how is this solving the big business problems that we have, whether it be for the customer, operational excellence, product innovation. Again, it has to come down to what's the real value for the company and the customer. And the third thing, a little bit where SN was headed is, don't be afraid of this. A lot of people, we talk about, these significant changes in the work that we do as a result of this. But again, we've been through these cycles, and there are, a lot of studies that show, while there were reductions in roles and skills, there is also increase, and oftentimes it's a net increase of needs. And so, don't be afraid of it, lean into it, learn it. It's going to move fast. And so it's super important that people are really kind of learning their way through this.
Got it. Thanks. Very, very important point, Mimi, there about keep learning and keep learning fast. Thanks for that. Raj, any closing remarks from you?
I agree to 100% with what SN and Mimi just said. I just want to add one point. I'm a data professional at heart, so don't forget to love your data, because AI is nothing besides your data. So all the good things that you're doing with your data quality, data management, still actually has to be done much better
Yes.
if you really want to take big things from this AI revolution. So don't forget to love your data. That's my last remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thanks, Raj, Mimi, SN, for your time and sharing this knowledge with this group. It was a great learning experience, at least for me, and I hope it's true for other participants on the webinar as well. Uh, thanks everyone on the webinar for joining this. This is not it, Ajay. We will continue this series. You will hear from us on different topics going forward. Thanks for joining, and I hope you had a great learning experience for last hour or so. Again, thanks Mimi, thanks Raj, thanks SN for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.